Alcohol. We'll get this one out of the way. I'm not a hypocrite about drinking. People enjoy it. I've enjoyed it in the past and sometimes in the present as well. I've took it too far on many occasions. I've been chased by the police. I've had to walk 16 miles home. I've woke up in a garden in Cavos by a gardener, covered in ant bites from lying in the grass. Almost got lost at a festival in America. Been chased out of bars as well. Done it all. Probably had many lucky escapes. And I'd like to think I'm over those kind of things, but my fiancé likely says otherwise. Anyway, completely understand we have a massive drinking culture in the UK and other parts of the world, so it's a subject worth addressing rather than tiptoeing around it and been seeking to be a little bit healthier, which is why we're doing this video. Alcohol is like the ugly sister of the macronutrients. Not many people know it's a legit macronutrient, as you can use it for energy. It doesn't mean you should though, as it is a terrible form of energy, which is why it's probably not talked about a lot. Not many people say, I'm heading out for a run, I'm just going to have this double vodka for a pre-workout, do they? Pair that with having no place in a health-seeking industry filled with superhuman robots who don't drink or show that they don't do it in public, just like they don't take drugs or steroids. It was rarely spoken about. It's a lot more open. It can be enjoyed in moderation, but even that's a slippery slope for some, because you're kind of playing with fire. Saying you can enjoy it in moderation, but then you trip and fall whilst drinking and paralyse yourself on the night out, that's what I'm meaning. People saying it's fine to drink in moderation and then they start drinking and then become an alcoholic. It's a very slippery slope, like I said. And we are all just walking, talking water balloons. I mean, we're a fall or a cut away from life-changing consequences. But there are people out there who can legit enjoy one drink. They can have an expensive rum or a whiskey and go and get on with their life. I wouldn't say I drink in moderation. I drink round about once a month, if that. It's usually a night for the sole purpose of having fun with my fiance or with my mates and getting drunk. Having one or two is absolutely pointless to me. That one or two is not worth the shit sleep and the tiredness in the morning, in my opinion. I just don't feel right after having one or two. On the odd occasion I will do it with my fiance. She's the exception. Some people might look at that and go binger, which is absolutely fine. My method of drinking has issues within itself. I'm not perfect. I'd like to think I have a handle on my drinking, but even I can let things get out of control. If I've not done it in a while, I tend to make up for it without even realising it until the morning. And the same goes if it's a free bar of some sort or you're in a massive round and things get out of hand. I have considered giving it up for good. Got a few family members who have done it. I've probably never felt more of a time to not drink than now because of all the evidence of how bad it is for you. Also, I've noticed the days after are harder to take. I guess you call it like the come down, but other things in life might contribute to that as well. I can still genuinely say I have fun with it when I do it with my fiance and friends. Anyway, this is not a fucking therapy session, so we'll get into it a little bit more. So alcohol is one of the most glorified drug out there and it's socially acceptable. And if you don't do it, you're a pussy, which is pretty fucked up. 1 gram of alcohol contains 7 calories. I find it quite difficult to work it out and put it in the likes of MyFitnessPal. So to understand it a bit more simply, you can just go online and find out what calories are in each drink. If you can't find the specific one you're drinking, a similar one will do, just like your food. They're all kind of the same, aren't they? Apologies if I've insulted any connoisseurs out there. Here are some average calories in drinks here. So that means you can technically track your alcohol intake. I think that's realistic for people who can genuinely have 1 or 2 and factor those in your day. But if you're sitting on a Monday and you're like, oh, I'm going to have 5 pints on Friday, there's a very good chance that that's going to turn into 10 pints and then some vodkas and then a takeaway, just because reasonable, rational decisions go out the window the more you drink. Leads me on to my next point nicely, which is the alcohol may not actually be an issue calorie-wise. When drinking, you're usually up and you're talking and you're gesturing and you're standing a lot and you're dancing. And if you're lucky, you're shagging, which all burn calories. You could go out and have 10 vodkas and Diet Cokes and have a really good time and only consume 600 calories with those drinks, which isn't too bad. But arguably the bigger issue is the peanuts and the crisps when you're out drinking that then rack up, and then the 1,000 calorie takeaway after that. There's also the issue of the effects it has on the following day/week. When we were younger, some of us could manage the gym the next day, and then when we got a little bit older, we would then take that day off. Now it takes fucking days to recover. So it may not just affect your Sunday if you're out on the Saturday. It might then creep into your Monday, your Tuesday, then you don't want to go to the gym, and then you don't want to eat well, your mood's low, all that kinds of stuff. Basically the snowball effect. People wonder why hangovers get worse. I think it's a combination of eating better as you get older. Because when you're younger, all you used to do is just survive on pot noodles and crisps and Rustler burgers. But combine getting older with the stress of everyday life, as responsibilities increase, it all just gets a little bit harder. Pair that with your shit quality of sleep and severe dehydration, you have a shit day/couple of days ahead of you, potential week. Here is something about me that you do not know. I fucking hate beer. The taste is absolutely disgusting. My mates drink IPAs, Brewdogs, Innocent Guns, Hobgoblins, Budweisers, all they kind of things, and I cannot stand them. I either drink them above casually just to feel manly, or go straight on the vodkas and get absolutely smashed, which is fun for nobody except me. Give me a cider or a fruity cocktail any day of the week over that shite above. I can only count once or twice that I have drank a beer and thought, that was amazing, but then the next one was shit. I was partial to UKD also back in the day. I'm not even sure if you do them anymore. I also have no idea how people can chug pints. I was at a meeting the other day with our wedding coordinator And he was like, what drink do you want for your toast? I can give you a Corona or a Prosecco. And I was like, I'd honestly rather drink a WKD. And he was like, I'll give you one of them. Can you imagine how embarrassing that would be in my photos? With a bottle of WKD at the table. I've settled for a Corona. No, I've not. Settled for a rum, a Kraken and Coke. Anyway, here's what to do if you're wanting to drink, but you're trying to gain weight or lose weight at the same time. So if you're trying to lose fat, if you can, just avoid it. Take yourself out of that equation. Just get your weight loss period out of the way. Being at a lower weight and eating lower calories likely puts you in a state where you'll get drunk quicker. So it's kind of a recipe for disaster. You could end up pretty fucked up by the end of the night. But you are old enough to wipe your own ass, so you'll be able to make that decision for yourself. Muscle gain, you can afford to enjoy yourself a little bit more because obviously you're taking in more calories. But just be aware that drinking alcohol won't contribute any benefits to growing muscle. It'll arguably negate them. And with the above fat loss and muscle gain, just be mindful of the knock-on effect drinking might have. For those who have a couple after work every night in front of the TV, just be aware that those couple contain calories and likely add up over the course of your week and probably affects your sleep, mood. So it may be worth binning them all together. Just stopping those drinks could lose you a decent amount of weight without changing anything else. I'm not an alcohol expert, just addressing it with a health conscious head on. I'm just a guy who managed to get into his 30s and come out relatively unscathed with it. But people obviously have worse times in it than me. I'm not encouraging you to include it. In an ideal world, in a bid to get healthier, you would get rid of it, but realistically that probably won't be the case. Ultimately, no good comes of alcohol long term. Anything you think it benefits, like confidence, etc., is temporary. Alcohol also could likely lead on to other things like food, nose clamps, smoking, all that sort of shit. So be mindful of it. If you're wanting to get off it, there's likely books, podcasts, helplines out there that'll help you a lot better than I ever would. I don't find it as a crutch, so I'm fine. I'm kind of contradicting myself here, but hopefully my message is getting across. So how do you include alcohol if moving it is not an option? Factor in your alcohol if you realistically can. If calories are a big factor, have light beers or bottled beers to lower your calories instead of pints. Instead of beers, drink spirits and diet mixers as they are lower in calories. To avoid a massive intake of calories at a takeaway, have a meal ready for coming home. A couple wraps or something. I'm not realistic how that advice is, but it's just an idea. Drink water during your night also to try and avoid the sore head and keep you hydrated. Plan not to go to the gym in the morning and work around that unless you feel like going on the day. Take the day off. Or plan to go to the gym so you don't then drink as much the night before. Maybe just in general ease off on the drink as well if you can. You're older and you're likely more matured. You're not 19 forever. Do you also want to become one of these fucking 50-year-olds still taking selfies of themselves and doing peace signs everywhere with the book? It makes me sick. Can you imagine grandkids in 100 years' time like, oh, look at my gran, and you're sitting there like that, like a fucking idiot. Anyway, here's a top tip for getting over a hangover. Drink electrolytes before going to bed because hangovers are basically caused by dehydration. So electrolytes and water will help that. Ideally with some food as well. I cannot do anything about the shit sleep, unfortunately. I'm one of the ones that gets up at like 5 in the morning and can't get back to sleep. I remember listening to a podcast, I think it was a It's Always Sunny podcast. I think it's Glenn. He was saying he has 1 litre of water before he goes to bed after a night out. I thought that was a good idea. I tried. I remember lying in my bed, I could hear the water sloshing in my belly. It was mental. It did get rid of the sore head, but it was rather uncomfortable. And you also probably run the risk of pissing yourself if you did that. Anyway, video is done. Hopefully that was helpful. See you in the next one.